If you're an ITAD with lots of Windows-based IT assets in your processing facility, you're going to want to get maximum value from that hardware. So what if I told you that there's a way that you can streamline things a little bit more when it comes to erasing and then reimaging Windows-based IT assets? Wouldn't you want a way to make that a bit smoother and more profitable? Hi everyone, and welcome to Blancco Verified, the series that delves deep into data sanitization and mobile diagnostics. You may know Blancco from our data erasure solutions in particular, but back in May 2025, we made an acquisition that has huge consequences for IT recyclers. In case you missed it at the time, Blancco acquired a Windows-based reimaging solution called Redeploy. And it's that software that's allowed us to provide a single ecosystem for our ITAD customers. They can erase data, diagnose devices, and reimage Windows-based endpoints, all without having to go to another vendor. They're boosting resale value, saving operator time, and consolidating the number of tools that they use. I caught up with reimaging specialist Danny Neeson to go through everything that you need to know about reimaging Windows-based assets with Blancco.
So for about 13 years, I worked for Blair Technology Group. I was their IT manager and spearheaded their investment into reimaging Windows devices. We decided to create Redeploy as a very simple way, a user-friendly way, single deployment scenario that allowed other refurbishers, other partners, other ITADs, a simple, elegant solution for imaging and licensing Windows devices.
We're talking about reimaging, and so my understanding is that means installing a new operating system on a previously wiped Windows endpoint, a laptop, a computer, etc. Is that, do I have that right?
That is correct. So we simply just give the end user, the customer, the ITAD, the refurbisher, the capabilities of capturing their own Windows images, fresh official Windows image from Microsoft, or their own custom images depending on their business needs, and effectively applying them to another device.
It's important to say at this stage, we've been talking about Redeploy as a kind of reimaging solution, but under Blancco, this is now known as Blancco Asset Reimaging. That's right, isn't it?
That is correct. It has been rebranded to Blancco Asset Reimaging, and it utilizes the core features that Redeploy was originally developed for. So Windows imaging, some of the things that other ITADs had issues with, such as driver deployments and capturing Windows images. These features are built into Blancco Asset Reimaging.
We're going to have a short demo. You're going to walk us through a typical workflow of how this would work, the Blancco Asset Reimaging would work in practice for an ITAD.
Absolutely. I'm certainly happy to demonstrate that.
Great.
So here we have currently Blancco Asset Reimaging 1.2.6. The deployment itself is a client and server relationship. So to the left, we have the server, which is based upon Ubuntu Linux. It is a one-stop ISO as long as it's followed the appropriate conditions in terms of the recommended specifications for either a virtual machine or a bare metal device. You simply run the ISO and install Redeploy, and then it is ready to go. So as you can see to the right, we have another virtual machine that is connected to that server via Pixie. So you net boot the device. It will boot to a Windows pre-installation environment that has the Blancco Asset Reimaging software on it. And it will provide you with the options of installing an image capture. Here we're just going through some additional steps and general information about the device, that its network connection. Here you enter your Blancco credentials if connecting to the BMC or BMP for this matter. You also have the MDOS Smart Client details. So if you have access or are partnered with a MAR or MAR yourself and have access to the MDOS Smart Client, you input your business ID and server IP address, and that enables that connection to the Smart Client to allow application of a DPK or digital product key. So here we have selected an image. We're going to use a digital product key. Once you select an image that is available on the server, it will simply start configuring that device. Here where it's creating the EFI partitions, it will download and stage the image onto the device. It will apply the image to the device, and if there are drivers available for this particular make and model, it will apply them and then reboot into Windows. So here it is rebooting into Windows. It will be in Windows audit mode. It will launch the application, the key deploy, or asset reimaging application once again. Once the device is booted to the desktop in Windows audit mode, it will run through some checks and it'll relaunch the application, the relaunch bar. And here you're provided with some additional information, such as that there are drivers that need to be installed. It will encourage the end user, the tech, to install the additional drivers and give you the option to capture them and store them on your asset reimaging server. To the right, you have the DPK installation. If it has a connector, or if you have a connection to the MDOS Smart client, it will look for the most available digital product key and apply it to the machine. To the bottom is just general information about the device itself, make, model, serial number, architecture, and the Windows version that is currently installed. As you can see, we have successfully installed a digital product key. We can upload drivers if needed again, and then we can shut down to out-of-box experience. Here, we're just demonstrating that the device manager has indeed have all the drivers installed, just for verification purposes. Once the device is ready, we will simply shut down to out-of-box experience and the device will be ready for an end user. Sell it either in a marketplace such as Amazon or eBay, or provide it in-house or storefront. So while this is the current iteration of asset reimaging, we have some big things coming forward. We will be implementing and consolidating down and adding asset reimaging to some of our other core products. So now we're going to demonstrate capturing an image. So capturing Windows images is relatively simple as well. Very simple practices when it comes to how we capture them. So once the machine has been booted into audit mode, for example, we're going to shut it down and back into audit mode. We're going to generalize that image so it can be used on any make and model. Once the device seals back into audit mode, we're going to reboot it back into asset reimaging to capture the image. Once in the menus, you can see that we have an image capture option. We will click on that option. We will give the image a name. It could be based upon the make and model of the device if you wanted to make machine-specific images. It can be based upon the addition of Windows or when it was made, for example, or what version it is. For example, these are 24H2. Once we click capture, it will start to pull the image off of the device, turn it into a WIM file. It will use a high compression rate to make it as a low profile as possible for easy download and easy applying images to the machine. We have successfully captured a Windows image and it will be immediately available to apply to another machine. And that covers this demonstration of applying a Windows image and capturing a Windows image with asset reimaging from Blancco.
That was great. Thank you, Danny. I can see how in just a few minutes you've taken what would have been a completely wiped laptop. It's had the OS completely taken off it. Every piece of data has been wiped off that device. And then you've just reinstalled quite simply an OS. It can go back to market. This feels like a big benefit potentially for ITADs.
Absolutely, and I believe that wholeheartedly, simply because, we developed that software for this very reason, to give ITADs processors the capability to image a Windows device very simply in an elegant, user-friendly manner. And now being inside of Blancco's environment, we're adding even more automation with IBR workflows and implementation into other devices, as I mentioned, or I should say other products, as I mentioned before, such as WinEraser, for example, and Drive Eraser in the future. And with the implementation into the workflows, it will go through those processes of diagnostics, erasing, applying an image, all in one simple workflow, one click, user-friendly, simple, efficient method.